All right, welcome back to another episode of the Extreme Lifestyle Living Podcast. Now, today, what I want to talk about is you can literally have absolutely anything in your life if you're just willing to put in the work and believe in yourself and show up enough until it comes to fruition. And I mean this on every single goal that you have, whether it's a relationship, you want better boundaries. You want to be respected better. You want better communication. You want better trust. You want more fulfillment. You want more joy. You want more out of, whatever you're doing with your life and something you want to share that with somebody. You can have absolutely every single bit of that you want if you're willing to show up for it, believe in it, and do your part. Same thing with your career. If you really want to take your career advancements as far as you want to make $100,000 a year, you want to make $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. All of this stuff is fucking real in your life. You just got to be willing to show up and go through the shit it takes to get there, especially when it comes to fitness and your mental health and your physical health. Like, these goals here out over everything. If you want to have abs, you want to have muscle, you want to have the shape that you look in the mirror and you love who you see, the style too with your clothes, all of these things in your life are possible, but you just have to know that they're not going to come overnight, and they're not going to be given to you on every area. And the biggest thing that I want to talk about with this, the context of changing your life on all these areas and every single part of your imagination is real, is it's empowerment. You just got to empower yourself to believe in yourself, to stay consistent enough to have these goals come to fruition. It starts with a plan on all of these avenues. You got to have some type of idea as to where you want to go. If you want to lose weight, is it 10 pounds? Is it 15 pounds? Is it 20 pounds? Is it building more muscle? Do you not care about the weight? Is it the scale? Like, whatever these tangible ideologies of these goals you can see, the better, the more vivid they are, then you just run towards them. Same with your career. For me personally, I just genuinely wanted to live on my freedom and just be able to do what I wanted as I pleased. Like, there's a podcast and live by example and lead by example. And it's like I had an idea as to what it looked like, so I just did everything else in alignment of it. But it would all started with empowering myself, especially with my relationship. Like, I had a very bad relationship with myself, and a lot of people around me I didn't have a good relationship with neither. And that starts with demanding and wanting more, better respect with myself and my time, and with others too. I want more, more fruitful things out of life, more joy, more positivity, more abundance, more like nurtured side of life, joy, fulfillment, that side of things. In order for me to take that, I had to figure out how to empower myself. And this is exactly how you do it, is you got to take ownership. You simply got to take ownership of every area of your life as to where you are with this stuff. If you are in a shitty relationship with yourself, shitty relationship with some people around you, wherever that is, take ownership over it. I'm not saying it's your fault, nor am I saying it's their fault, but there is ownership for you to be taking there because you're there. And that's how you start to empower yourself. And I think that's a very, very important thing to do, because that's the same thing you do for your career and your physical goals. If you look in the mirror and hate who you fucking see, take ownership over that. I'm not saying that your fault while you're there necessarily. You could have been brought up with horrible eating habits. You know what I mean? You could have been relying on food as an emotional regulating thing. Who knows? Who cares? But regardless, is you got to take ownership over it. And same with your career. You don't make enough money. You don't like where you're at. You don't like the location. You don't like the people you work with. Take ownership over it. That's the biggest thing about it. And the biggest thing with physical health too, that's why that common quote is you don't wait until you're 50, 60, 70, 80 years old for the doctors to tell you what's wrong with you. Make it on your own account, make it on your own accord, and make sure that you're taking an ownership of your life now. If you look in the mirror, you don't like how you see, change it. If you're having trouble eating regularly, understanding even what that even looks like, if you're just kind of eating shit all day and eating a bunch of caffeine and just literally not taking care of yourself in any degree, just take ownership over it. And I think this is where you start to begin to realize that it's you just got to hold yourself accountable around these things. And it's like I said, it's not going to change overnight, nor is it going to change over a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or anything like this. But you got to understand that it all becomes to you can have whatever the fuck you want. If you hate waking up every day and going towards the life that you the life that you're living currently, you can change it on every front. It just comes with taking ownership and understanding that you just really got to embrace everything that comes with it. So after you take ownership, you just got to embrace the shit. When you look in the mirror, that gut-wrenching check you get when you I just really don't like how I look, or really don't like how I feel. It hurts, but embrace it. How else do you expect to understand what that looks like, or understand where you got to take your life after that? And that's what I'm saying about it's not easy to make your life every area that it is. For me physically, I'm just falling in love with who I am now physically. And that's after I got all the rehab stuff with the injuries. This is after I took ownership of looking in the mirror, not liking who I saw, having to lose the weight, learn how to eat properly, and ultimately not how to binge, all of those things like that. And do you think any of those emotions were easy by any means. Not a fucking all. It's so hard to look in the mirror and be like, I don't like what I see, nor do I like how I feel. And that comes with a lot of emotional trauma and baggage after that, because you got to cycle through that, which is why taking ownership over how you feel is going to give you that empowerment. Because once you understand how you feel and operate, it's a relationship with yourself. Half of the battle is not your fucking fault. You were taught this way based on how you grew up and the people around you until you were an adult trying to fucking figure it out. And the other half is you just ignoring things or avoiding things and just numbing yourself through emotional ties, which is why food is a big reliant for a lot of people, and drugs and other things like this, right? But, none of this shit was easy, especially my career. Like, I remember, I came out of the fucking ghetto. My parents never had shit. No one graduated high school. And do you think understanding the steps after that with so much unknown future ahead of me, because everything was so brand new, especially not having any support? I mean, no one gets support for a lot of different areas, so I don't make it a sob story, but it wasn't easy. Then growing up and trying to figure out how to, realizing I hated my job and hated my career and hated the kind of the culture it was going towards, and me not really being able to actually fulfill my life and give myself the actual life I wanted. I was like, what am I supposed to do now? I did everything I thought I was supposed to do, and I'm still wrong, or feeling wrong, if you will. And I had to take ownership over that. I had to embrace it. And it was a lot of turmoil. It was a lot of emotional baggage. It was a lot of me crying. It was a lot of me just self-expressing myself to try to figure it out, which is why I'm so good at articulating myself now and knowing where my boundaries are, is because I went through it all. I knew where I wanted to take my life. I had an unbelievable amount of belief in myself. And I just knew that if I showed up every single fucking day and took ownership over everything in front of me, even the saying I used to say to everybody, and I still do to this day, is if you come up to me and punch me in my face, I'm going to take ownership over it, because that's where I got power. I want to be empowered to know that I can take ownership and control over my life, which comes with embracing it. And then after the fact, so I'm not emotional and I'm proactive with these situations, I'll dissect what happened. Obviously no one should get punched in the face ever, but it's one of those situations where it's I'm not going to question life or reality when I am here right now. I'm here right now. So are you, listening to this, watching this, or wherever you're at in your time, in your space, in your world, whatever age you are, whatever season of life you are, you are here right now. And you have every bit of power to change your fucking life. And all you have to do is take ownership over it. And it may not be your may not be your fault. It really, really may not be your fault as to why you have trauma in your life, or as to why you're feeling this way, or to why you're in the situation you are. But it is your responsibility to take ownership over it, regardless of what side of the puzzle piece you're on or the percentage you're carrying. Because that's where you empower yourself and start to take control. And it doesn't change overnight, nor does it change after a week or a month. But I can promise you, after a year or two, you'll look back and be absolutely amazed as to how much more you exceeded your expectations by showing up, believing in yourself, and taking ownership. That's why I tell everybody, you don't realize how big life can get until you just start showing up and you realize you're aiming so low. I tell people, if you want to be an astronaut, let's go do it. But are you willing to do and commit to everything it fucking takes? Because if you are, then shit, you have a very good chance, outside of other statistics that you have to measure and different things like that. Like a cheesy one, if you want to go to the NBA, if you're 5'2", likely not. But, if you're 6'4", 6 and higher, and you actually commit it, who knows? You know what I mean? And like Ed was saying, there's no limitations as to what you can do in your life when you know how to embrace it, take ownership over it, and just truly, truly know how to empower yourself to be in control. Because then at that point, the only thing that's off limits is the limits you give yourself every single day. It's all a mindset shift. And I think the biggest thing for me that I want to wrap this episode up with, this quick, short little rant of just high energy, is just, I have a lot of passion about how much I changed my life. I've been lost the last 6 to 8 months, honestly. I've been really super lost because I love everything that I'm doing. Even this podcast I'm doing right now in this studio, in the office, in our house, was when I started this, I was in a 1-bedroom apartment 5 years ago. We were in a 1-bedroom apartment, went to a 1-bedroom condo, and then we got into a townhouse, so it's crazy to see the progression, and the entire time just being damn, what do I do now? It's like a dog chasing their tail and really trying to find out what to do with it next. And, I realized I just had to go back to the reason as to why I'm here. Self-empowerment, leading by example, sharing my stories with you guys as to where my life changed. And the gratifying thing and the most thing that makes me so, inspired, to keep doing this stuff is 90% of you guys that are here now have been here since the beginning, which is crazy, and I'm not as if I have a community of 100,000 people on Instagram and stuff like that. But nonetheless, I started off with 500-600 followers on Instagram, started off with inspiring with mental health conversations by, embracing and taking ownership of how I felt, wanting to figure out where I could take my life, having high ambitious goals, and 3 years later, here I am. 4 years later, here I am. And all I have to say to you guys, if you're willing to aim fucking high because you have one life on this planet and you're willing to take ownership of everything in your life, even if it's not your fault at all, and embrace what comes with that, I can promise you after a few weeks, after a few months, after a few fucking years especially, you will start to see so many life-changing things in your life that you'll be absolutely amazed. Then you'll have problems because you'll question why no one around you does it. It's absolutely insane. But other than that, I appreciate you guys all. Hope you guys have an absolute blessed week of your guys' life. And as per usual, keep showing up, keep setting the standard, and let's fucking go.